Fruit tree guilds serve a number of different functions, but in this video I'm going to show you one very important reason why you may want to consider placing your fruit trees in a gilded arrangement. This year in my area of Northern California, there has been a tremendous amount of damage that has occurred due to an infestation of grasshoppers. Grasshoppers come in about every 7 to 10 years, and we're having a pretty bad cycle this year. There's been a lot of orchards and a lot of gardens that have been decimated. I want to show you the difference between an orchard space that has been gilded compared to one that has not. How old is this tree?
It's third year, I think. It was a little tiny whip.
Right. How long did it take them to strip it?
Like 3 days.
Yeah.
Maybe less, 2 days.
So all of these have been stripped out?
Yeah, this is a 4-year-old dwarf next door. Right here. And it was super happy and healthy. And that's what they did that in less than a week. You see them. Disgusting critters chewing their way in right here. This was another, it was in great shape this year. Had tons of peaches on it. It was nice and healthy. And I don't know, a week.
Just stripped it off. You said you had one that they stripped down to cambium? Yeah.
All the way through the bark, all the way through the cambium. Down to nothing. Yep, down to nothing.
The whole purpose of a guild is to provide support and enhance a central figure. The lead actor being some form of perennial, generally speaking. In this case, it's going to be fruit trees. They should be soil building to help enhance and build the soil around the central figure. They should also attract and bring in beneficials, things like pollinators and predatory insects. Another way that they protect is through providing some form of distraction. Generally speaking, that's going to be done aromatically by placing things there that are going to cast off a scent that is going to confuse the predator and distract them from the central figure, as well as providing diversity by placing a number of different things around that central figure that is going to be basically a smorgasbord or a buffet of different menu options. All of these trees were planted bare root stock from this year. They're faring pretty well at this point, even though we've had a tremendous amount of grasshoppers working their way through this orchard and in the surrounding area. I'll also show you some of the damage that's been done elsewhere on the property and show you some of the things that they have been interested in there as well. What I have in this space is a collection of perennials, annuals, as well as invasives, which I've decided to just kind of allow this space to go as feral as it possibly can be. What that's doing is it's providing a lot of different menu options for these particular pests, these grasshoppers. They've been feeding on that rather than feeding on my trees. Yeah, there's a number of different things surrounding this peach tree here. There's some yarrow down here, and this is comfrey. You can see where this comfrey's been getting eaten, and there's a number of grasshoppers down in here currently working on this, but they're leaving the tree itself alone. So that's exactly what this is here for, is to help provide that different menu option. A bit of strawberry down here, some pumpkin, globe artichoke, got a bunch of Bermuda grass in here. There's different things growing like sedge, which isn't something that I'm trying to encourage, but at this stage of the game, with all of the pests that I've had in here, I want to provide them as much choice as they can possibly have. Same thing with all this Johnson grass. This is something I would ordinarily try to kind of remove and bring out of here. Globe artichoke, bronze fennel, more comfrey surrounding this apiarium. And you can see all of the different little species of insect that are interested in these tiny little clusters of flowers. This is a nitrogen fixing western redbud. My mom bought me this winter and I put it in here, and this will flower very nicely in the spring. I'll be able to trim this back and release nitrogen into the soil in this space. But it is flanked with some chocolate mint, more comfrey, that is being munched upon. But the central figure is being left alone. Some volunteer watermelon, apple tree. It's being adequately protected and flanked with all this other foliage and vegetation. Hey man, welcome. Here's another small peach that was just put in about a month and a half ago. I had to replace a tree that was in this spot, and it's just been put in. It's got a lot of new growth pushing out. No real damage from any of the pests in here, but it's flanked with blue borage, more comfrey. There's some watermelon down in there. There's some morning glory. Looks like I see a daikon radish in there. All of this is just from seed that was cast about. Some of it wasn't cast and it's just found its way in this planting space. Sunflower, some sorghum popping up right here. Pumpkin. This is umbrella sedge, and again, this is an invasive that I don't really particularly care to have in here, but if you look down here, you can see there is a grasshopper down there working on it. So I would much rather have him working there than working on any of these other elements that I'm trying to protect. More comfrey, clove artichoke. And this is surrounding a wonderful pomegranate which was planted just this last fall from a 1-gallon pot. That this star thistle is something they actually like to eat. So they've been somewhat beneficial in this county by completely defoliating the star thistle in many areas. They've done so on different areas of my property. They haven't found this to be particularly their choice in this space, but I'm leaving it as a menu option for them. Here's a pineapple guava that was just started the same time I put in that pomegranate out of a 1-gallon pot. And there's different things growing in here. There's some strawberry down low. Here's some potato, more sunflower. There's things popping up in here like hollyhock. I have no idea. I didn't plant any of this. This may have just come from a random seed packet that was tossed out at some point, and they're starting to take shape in here. Here's a loquat, showing no signs of real stress or damage, and it's being completely supported by everything around it. Again, more volunteer sorghum, pumpkin, yarrow. This is a double jewel peach that was started from bare root. It was trimmed back to about this level. I've already come through and done some summer pruning in here, bringing down the vigor, bringing down the height on these trees, and I'll come back later in the dormant period to do the final detail work. But this was planted just this year. Again, more watermelon trying to push its way out. This is a dapple dandy pluot that's been flanked on all sides by sunflower. And then there's also some lower elements that are down here providing support. Flanking this emerald butte plum, we've got some dill, some cilantro, watermelon, some volunteer sorghum over here. All of these trees are looking very healthy and not showing any damage or any sign of loss. This is a spicy nectaplum, and it is shrouded entirely in sunflower. Sunflowers are a fantastic thing as a support plant. It's very deeply tap-rooted, and then it provides an automatic bird feeder. By drawing birds into this space, they're going to be able to also feed upon a menu of different insects. And then what they don't eat and what gets cast to the ground will in many ways come back as a volunteer sunflower. One thing that's really important in any gilded type of an arrangement is to try to encourage, for as many months out of the year as you can, having something in bloom for as long as possible. Here in my zone, it's very temperate, and so we're able to do that almost nearly year round. But whether it's something that I've planted intentionally or if it's just come up in volunteer, I assess the value and the benefit of having it in this space, and I don't just automatically eradicate it. There's plenty of things in here that are invasives that are helping to bring in beneficials, not only pollinators, but predators alike. One area where grasshoppers have been somewhat useful this year is in dealing with some of the invasive species that I have on my property. Most noteworthy is star thistle, and then the other is naked buckwheat. Let me show you what they've done to this naked buckwheat here on the property. And they're eating that essentially as a trap crop because there's nothing else for them to eat. And so again, that's the finest thing on the menu, and they're choosing to target it. It's actually classified as a shrub, but it originates down here at this basal rosette, and it's spread via its seed near the top where it puts on flowers, and then it'll go to seed, and then the seed is cast, and it continually spreads throughout my property. But what these grasshoppers have been able to do this year, essentially taken and stripped this all the way past the outer covering down into the cambium, which is preventing this in many cases from flowering. Here's a little bit of flower at the tip there they weren't able to get, but by contrast you can see the damage that they've done. There are little gnaw marks all the way up this, which is essentially going to be killing this for this year, and it won't flower, thereby preventing its spread. It's very deeply taprooted. Stuff's very hard to get rid of, and it grows in areas where it's super arid. Another area where these grasshoppers have been really effective is taking care of this star thistle. It should actually be in full bloom. It should have a bunch of blossoms on. All of this star thistle should be very thorny, but as you can see, the tops of these have been completely taken out. About a week and a half ago, this was thick with grasshoppers in here. Taking a closer look at some of this, they've just done a fantastic job of taking this out for the year. They've taken it all the way down to sticks. So that's actually going to be helpful for us here this year, but not so much in the garden. You have dry grass that is pretty much devoid of nutrition, and then you have star thistle. The star thistle is going to have a lot higher nutrition content for these grasshoppers, so thereby that's going to be their choice. Now, if I had stuck a number of fruit trees in here amongst all of this without any other supporting cast around it to defend it, chances are they would have stripped all of the foliage off, probably all the way down to the cambium, and destroyed those trees. It just goes to show the value of diversity when planting an orchard. You want to try to mimic nature as much as possible. Nothing in nature grows by itself, and that's why polycultures are generally always a better option than planting in a monoculture. A monoculture would be something like you see right over here behind me, which is about 400 acres of walnuts. The value and benefit of disguising and trying to mimic nature by putting as many different cultivars as you can in a particular area. It provides that confusion. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and from myself and the goat here, thanks for watching.